All right. A delicate ceasefire and Democrats praying that it fails. Let's check it out. Welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight. A Middle East ceasefire, always complicated, always very fragile. We have seen these before. And the 2-week ceasefire that Trump announced last night, just before this show, certainly is one of those. There was plenty of drama today, claims that the Strait of Hormuz is not fully open, regime anger as Israel continues to bomb terror cells in Lebanon, and the Iranians trying to look tough in front of the people that they oppress, the 92 million of them, posing as though the Iranian regime is getting everything that they want out of this negotiation, as demanding everything, while the White House, the Trump White House at the same time, says the regime's amended 10-point plan, the one actually being negotiated with, is actually quite workable. Take a listen.
The first 10-point proposal was something that was submitted, and we think, frankly, was probably written by ChatGPT. That immediately went in the garbage and was rejected. There was a second 10-point proposal that was much more reasonable. That is the 10-point proposal that the president was referencing in his Truth yesterday.
We have received a proposal from the Iranians that has been determined to be a workable basis on which to negotiate. The Iranians originally put forward a 10-point plan that was fundamentally unserious, unacceptable, and completely discarded. It was literally thrown in the garbage.
So undoubtedly, Iran's decimated regime needs to look strong in this moment inside of its own country, right? If the regime looks pummeled and desperate in this negotiation, they'll further invite the revolution that they so fear in their weakened state. This is precisely why this negotiation that'll start this weekend in Pakistan will be so difficult. Today, many outlets reported Iran's claim that the Strait of Hormuz was closed because Iran felt the ceasefire was broken by Israel continuing to bomb Hezbollah. The White House then came out and said, no, the strait remains open. You can expect this kind of confusion to continue, and history would tell us not to bet on this ceasefire holding. From the moment it was announced last night, the ceasefire was met with intense ridicule. The day started with Trump's threat to blow up Iran. A civilization will die tonight. It ended with compromise. And the same people who hammered Trump all day long for that morning tweet, that bombastic war crime threat, as they described it, then flipped like a light and mocked him for not actually doing it.
Breaking news, Donald Trump has done what everyone thought he did. He caved.
Just an hour and a half before his self-imposed deadline, Trump backed down.
Donald Trump just caved, backing down from his fake deadline.
Literally at the 11th hour, Trump backing down.
The bottom line of what happened is that Donald Trump backed down.
This is what you get in Washington when you try to do the right thing, when you try to do the hard thing, the hard decision. You get mocked by a bunch of people who never do the right thing. People like Ben Rhodes, Obama's deputy national security advisor, decides to chime in on this, saying in the best case scenario, Trump struck a deal to reopen a strait that was open before the pointless war he started, with the IRGC demonstrating its control over the strait and potentially extracting fees plus sanctions relief. Thousands of innocents, including children, hundreds of children, dead in Lebanon and Iran for no reason, according to Ben Rhodes. U.S. troops killed and wounded, embassies and bases in the Middle East badly damaged, U.S. standing in the world, according to Ben Rhodes, obliterated. This from a guy who handed $100 billion to a terror regime, to Iran, funding their ballistic missiles, their nuclear program, funding years of terrorism in the Middle East and the bombing of U.S. bases. How Ben Rhodes has the audacity to chime in on something like this is simply incredible. Even Obama won't talk about this because they know what they did in that last Obama regime. They know that they funded all of this chaos, that they handed this disaster to Donald Trump. The Obama White House was so aware of the dire threat of Iran that Ben Rhodes is pretending didn't exist. They were so aware of it that they performed one of the most embarrassing capitulations we have ever seen in this country. And now you have Ben Rhodes mocking Trump for actually attempting to face and end the threat that he knew all too well when he was in the White House. Trump trying to face and end the threat rather than drop to his knees for the mullahs like Ben Rhodes and Barack Obama did. That's the honest truth of the matter. Everybody knows it, but they're all pretending like this was just some made-up war, some huge mistake that Trump made, trying military adventurism, whatever they want to call it. It's all a lie. It's all BS. Take a listen to Jimmy Kimmel last night.
Probably the most dangerous episode of The Celebrity of President yet today. It was D-Day. In this case, the D stands for dementia, but it was D-Day today. All day today, everyone, most notably the people of Iran, were wondering if their civilization was going to die tonight. Well, good news, it didn't. It was the Taco Tuesday of all Taco Tuesdays as our president decided not to drop the chalupa for at least another 2 weeks.
Oh, what a pansy. He didn't nuke Iran. Taco Trump. He always chickens out. Kimmel was one of Barack Obama's biggest fans. We know that. Right now, we are seeing the champions and the proponents of the Obama nuclear deal, the JCPOA, the ones that spoke so highly of it all those years ago, all now pretending that Trump isn't actually a threat at all. Pretending that Iran isn't actually a threat at all. And that Trump is just a psychotic tyrant starting wars for no reason. Yes, this is what they're trying to pull. Watch this celebrity PSA on Iran from 2015. Absorb this, and then we'll talk about it.
I love playing Frisbee with my sons.
I love the sound of the waves on the Pacific at sunrise.
I love curling up with a good book.
I love to see my grandkids smile.
But if Congress sabotages the nuclear deal with Iran,
we could be denied the very moments that make our lives worth living.
Why?
Dude, because we'd be dead.
Super dead.
Like totally fried by a major nuclear bomb dead.
Isn't it something to see how everything changes depending on who's in the White House? So in 2015, Iran was the biggest massive nuclear threat we've ever had. So bad that we had to give an Islamic terrorist regime tens of billions of dollars, more than $100 billion, so that they could use that money to terrorize the Middle East. That's okay with us. We didn't, no restrictions on that. You can use our money to terrorize the Middle East. You can use our money to blow up our military bases. Just don't blow up the whole world with a nuclear bomb. Just be good on nuclear, and that's all we need. And everybody signed off on that. Can you imagine how idiotic that is? That was the position in 2015. But today, because Trump decided to do something about this, Iran's a peaceful state, and Trump's just an idiot. Got it. One more here from a CNN general.
This has been the greatest geopolitical disaster in American history. We are much, if you ask yourself your question, you know, are we better off now than we were 40 days ago? The answer is an unequivocal no.
From a guy that applauded the Iran nuclear deal, of course. Rebecca Heinrich is a senior fellow at the Hudson Institute, and she joins us tonight. Rebecca, good to have you back on. Do we still have a ceasefire tonight? I guess is my first question.
Yes, there's a ceasefire in place. It is fragile, and I'm not counting on the Iranians to live up to their end of the deal. And it's not even clear to me what the Iranians think that they've agreed to. But I'm not concerned about it, Rob, because the United States hasn't moved one single piece of military equipment, not one airman out of the region. All of our military power is still there. We have an enormous military advantage over this rump regime that's left inside Iran. We've completely gotten rid of their air force, their navy, their missile capacity, their ability to rebuild their missiles and their launchers. And so the United States is still in a really strong position. Yeah. So if the Iranians begin to do things that we believe are in outright violation, the United States can resume epic fury very easily.
Is one thing that's the hardest thing to figure out, is the Strait of Hormuz open? Does anybody actually know that? Because it depends on where you read and who you ask.
So it is open, except that the Iranians can just merely threaten to terrorize it. Yeah. And that threat is enough to cause insurance companies, as you know, to increase prices. And then you don't have companies that want to go through the strait. But if the United States continues to successfully completely degrade Iran's capacity to threaten the Strait, then they don't have the ability to make good on their threat. We've already significantly degraded their ability to do that. So when President Trump says to our allies, now is the time for you to go get your oil, now's the time to escort these ships through the Strait, he's being serious. Now is the time, especially during this ceasefire. This is whenever I would really try to get an international coalition together, Rob, to get that oil moving again.
You know, there's an argument to be made, and I think it is a point to be made, that the ceasefire has given Iran a much-needed break, time to come up for air in the middle of all this. And some would say this break is a win for the regime. Do you think that there is a chance that this tattered regime is authentically seeking a deal that we would ever agree to?
Not at this point, and I'm not really worried about them coming up for air. I mean, we essentially have our boot at their throat. Yeah. I mean, the Israelis have so thoroughly penetrated their government. We have eliminated more than 1,000 of their senior IRGC and Basij leaders. Right. We have taken out their nuclear scientists. So, I mean, at this point, it's like, you know, what are they going to do with a couple of weeks? I mean, they can barely communicate with one another. So I'm not worried that this is going to give the Iranians any sort of necessary oxygen they need to regroup.
What do you think the end of this is? Because, you know, I think it will be a pretty fair criticism if this ends up being just us mowing the lawn, which is kind of what, you know, that's how they've always described it in Israel. We're going to go knock them down, knock down their progress, but leaving the regime in place. If this ends up just being a really big mowing of the lawn in Iran, is that a failure?
I don't think it's a failure. I'm already happy. I already think that the United States is so much safer than we were 4 weeks ago, but I still want the total victory, the win. And I think a win would constitute the United States ensuring that Iran cannot have access to a nuclear weapon entirely, whether it's by removing all their nuclear material or having some mechanism, international force to see that inside the country. And the United States and our allies have to be the ones controlling the Strait of Hormuz. There cannot be a scenario in which Iran can then threaten the Strait of Hormuz credibly, because, of course, we know that the Chinese back Iran. So that would be a big geopolitical, I think, mistake for the United States to permit that to happen.
Right. Rebecca Heinrich, good to have you on. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. David
Bellavia is a Medal of Honor recipient and Army veteran. And David, it's good to have you on, sir. Let's start where we just left off. If Iran doesn't capitulate to what we want, what do you think we do in that moment? Because how much of an appetite is there going to be to go back into war when, you know, oil prices are coming down and the stock market's shooting up?
This president can't be stopped. Here's the reality. You talk about the little television timeout we just took. It's a ceasefire, okay? Yeah. You can complain about the officiating. You can complain about your home team's performance. You can't complain about the television timeout, which is what a ceasefire is. In this pause, all we've done is re-equip. We've done maintenance that was desperately needed. We changed our socks. We got hydrated. The reason why the first blow on Iran was devastating was because Iran didn't expect it, and we had everything on the chessboard that we needed. You give us 3 days, 4 days, if the ceasefire doesn't go 2 weeks, you're going to get everything in our inventory all at once. In the first 2 weeks, we were taking out the ability for them to reach out and touch us. This time, we're just finding the bad guys where they're at. You know, we took out those intel leaders while we were looking for our downed, crew of that F-15. That's because they were talking, right? Once they let their hair down and they started communicating, I'm sure there's a lot of Iranian Revolutionary Guard leaders right now that want to talk to the centrists and talk to the people negotiating with Pakistan and the U.S., and they're exposing their signatures. They're coming out from the catacombs. Yeah. We're going to pound the hell out of them if they don't comply. This is all a parlor game. We're listening to a bunch of Ben Rhodes scholars is our problem, and they all got their degrees, and they think they're experts, and they're going to get humbled too.
Do you think that we're going to get to a point in this regime where they're actually going to say we have to change, you know, this radical nature that we've held for 47 years? We have got to tamp this down. We have to be a little bit more reasonable just to survive. Are we close to that moment? I know they've knocked out so many layers at this point. It's hard to imagine an Iranian regime that doesn't terrorize the world.
It is hard. It's all we've known in our lifetime. Yeah. But in these 2 weeks, I mean, why couldn't civilians come out? Because they were afraid they were going to get hit by a joint direct munition. They were the fear of what the regime could do against them. In these 2 weeks, I think we're going to see a lot of these, what we call centrists or moderates that are in Iran, that are basically saying, look, I mean, we got Iran to the table because of what happened at Kharg Island in the 48 hours before this ceasefire was agreed to. Those B-52s come in again. Kharg Island's gone. There is no future of Iran. Iran becomes Yemen if they lose Kharg Island. And no one wants to be Yemen, right? Even the Houthis don't want to be, from Yemen. So this is their financial future. How do they determine what is their way forward? If they can't make that determination, we'll see what happens at the end of the day. But right now, President Trump is dictating the terms. They break this ceasefire. The next salvo post-ceasefire, I don't think anyone can recover from that.
Interesting stuff. David Bellavia, thank you so much. Good to see you, sir. And thank you for your service.
Thank you.
All right, the Washington Post claims Muslims here in the United States should not have to assimilate, and we should get used to Sharia law. We got that coming up. Plus, later in News from the Left, Trump ends the most annoying Obama climate regulation in your car.
Whenever news breaks. A lot of destruction there. It was really the front lines in the battle. And wherever it happened.
Humanitarian corridors opened up this morning.
We're trying to go rescue a 96-year-old lady that doesn't have anybody to take care of her.
They're using ingenuity. They refuse to give up. It's incoming fire. Come on. Yeah, let's get down here.
Newsmax is there for you.
The pain is gone. It's gone. I was wheeled in. I couldn't even move 5 feet without the wheelchair. I was in awful pain.
Are you able to get onto the bed?
I doubt it.
No?
We went through the whole intake interview, did the MRI, x-rays. I was awake through the surgery, came back to recovery. I was there for 10 minutes, and I got up and I walked.
Bonatti succeeds where others fail.
Mike Hammond here, founder of Signal Relief. Meet Dr. Beth Dupree, breast cancer surgeon for over 35 years.
In my surgical career, I have treated thousands of patients, and finding effective pain relief has always been a priority. Believe me, I was skeptical, but Signal Relief caught my attention because it actually works. Clinical trials show over 85% of participants felt relief within 72 hours, with nearly half noticing a significant difference in just 15 minutes. Just place it near or above wherever you have the pain, whether it's your back, your shoulder, your neck, or your knee. Signal Relief Patch brings proven relief. I recommend it to my patients, family, and friends, and I get to witness and experience their pain relief firsthand, and that brings a smile to my face.
Join the hundreds of thousands who have experienced relief with the Signal Relief Patch, and it comes with a money-back guarantee. Trust Dr. Dupree and me. The patch works.
Welcome back. Some of the scummiest people in our country are on their way out. Family members of Iran's terror regime enjoying America while wishing death to it. Stephen Miller's wife indicating this week the administration is currently working to revoke up to 4,000 visas of Iranian elites living in the United States. 4,000. This after the niece and the grandniece of Iranian General Soleimani, who've been living in Los Angeles for years, were scooped up for rapid deportation, one of my favorite stories of the year. Look at how these two ladies dress as they actively support the terror regime in Iran on social media, supporting a regime that kills women for showing their hair. Yeah. Dr. Zuhdi Jasser is a Middle East expert, is running as a Republican for Congress in the state of Arizona. Dr. Sheila Nazarian is an Iranian American and vocal dissident of this regime from Los Angeles herself. And good to have you both. Dr. Nazarian, your response to the potential of 4,000 relatives of this regime getting the boot, and specifically to the two nieces of the General Soleimani.
Yeah, Rob, we've been following the social media accounts of these two women and many others like them. You can see, how they're dressed. Women in Iran are getting lashes, kicked to the ground, kicked to the head, raped, murdered for showing a few strands of hair. And you see this woman, look, I mean, she's literally got a outfit on where you can see her V-neck down to her belly button. Why don't we send her back to Iran dressed like that?
Right.
Also, they're flaunting their wealth that they've stolen from the Iranian people. They're getting into private jets. They're wearing all of the Rodeo Drive brands. And this is all money that they did not earn. It's all money that was embezzled and stolen from the people of Iran. And they live here in freedom. They're posting in bikinis while shilling for the IRGC and Sharia law.
Yeah. I mean, wouldn't it be great to just put a billboard up and just say Soleimani's nieces living in L.A.? Just put that up. Put that up in Farsi right in the heart of Tehran and just watch the jaws drop to the floor. Dr. Jasser, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing that highlights their hypocrisy more than this, and that, clearly as 70 million Iranians have been fighting in a revolution against the Islamic theocracy, there's really a battle for the soul of Islam, which is what my book is about, is that truly moral Muslims, those who believe in a country under God like America, are fighting for their soul, if you will, against theocrats that use religion as a means of power, that use it to oppress, that really want nothing to do. They believe they are God, thus they can get away with anything, and there's nothing that reveals more of their contempt for humanity than the reality of their theocracy, and why this war is a just war. Yeah. Operation Epic Fury is not only a just war, but the defeat of theocracy is a once in a millennium opportunity for Muslims to actually get back the reins of a moral, humble, genuine faith that isn't run by theocrats.
That's exactly right. Dr. Nazarian, the radical version of Islam that controls Iran and has for a long time is a great example of why, I think assimilation is so needed in the West, and that we know what kinds of people specifically we're bringing into this country. And that brings me to this opinion piece in the Washington Post from Shadi Hamid, arguing that Muslims should not have to assimilate in the United States to belong, writing minorities don't need to show they are like everyone else, and practicing Muslims, despite being repeatedly asked to, can't disavow Sharia even if they wanted to. So if you want to take that to the harshest extremes, I mean, that's basically saying that you should be allowed to come here even if you believe in honor killings, the stoning, the killing of homosexuals, executions of homosexuals. He has no problem, thinks we should be inclusive enough in this country to bring people of that ilk and that ideology into the United States to live right next door to us.
Rob, I actually studied Islam classes while I was at Columbia University, even though I'm a physician, because I wanted to know what it says in the Quran that made my family have to escape Iran under gunfire by border police. And at least this person is being honest. It's kind of refreshing, because if you want to be a Muslim that follows exactly what it says in the Quran, this is what you would say. It's very honest. I agree that we need more moderate Muslims that say maybe we don't need to take the Quran literally, but I've read the Quran. I know what it says to do to Jews in the Quran, and no one can deny it to me because I studied it. Yeah. So at least this person is being honest, but Sharia law is not compatible with the West and the freedoms that we enjoy here. Women are worth half as much. Women need their husband's permission to travel outside the country or go anywhere. Women can be stoned. This is why my family, thank God, got me out of Iran, because with my honesty and my mouth, I would not have done well under this regime over there.
You certainly would. And Dr. Jasser, that's right up your alley. I mean, the need for moderate Muslims in this country to say this is an outrage. This version of Islam is an outrage. It needs to be destroyed.
Yeah, I mean, Shadi Hamid, for full disclosure, is a Qatari paid operative, an Islamist who believes in the Muslim Brotherhood. So clearly he's going to cleanse his version and claim religious freedom issues when it's actually a very American battle we're having within the faith of Islam, which is against the theocrats. The Qataris are basically the Sunni version of the Islamists, of the Khomeinists on the Shia side. So ultimately, there's a battle within, just like it took America 1,789 years till we had a legal system that rendered unto Caesar what is Caesar, and unto God's what is God's. Similarly, in Islam, we have not gone through that reformation against theocrats, and we have to battle for it. So there's a genuine debate that we have to have within the faith about what is moral, what is our personal pietistic faith, and what is the Sharia that gives women a quarter of their inheritance, gives them half a vote in a court of law, permits FGM, permits honor killings and other things. Now, I, as a devout Muslim, will fast and pray, and Shadi claims that that's part of Sharia. It is personal Sharia, but we have to say that we are against political Islam and the threat it is to America.
Exactly. Yeah, well
I
said.
wish we could take you and clone you. Thank you for speaking up. Thank you. I've been begging for a person like you to be vocal on this issue for years. So I just want to say thanks.
Well, thanks to you
Thank
both.
you.
I got to leave it there. Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, Dr. Sheila Nazarian, to you both, thank you so much. Good to see you guys. All right, after relentlessly promising free buses, fiscal reality hits New York's mayor right between the eyes, forcing a pivot back to good old cultural Marxism. Coming up next.
The inequities in this city, the racial inequities, are stark.
Did you know about 1 in 3 people with plaque psoriasis may also develop psoriatic arthritis? With fewer symptoms from moderate to severe plaque psoriasis, where would you go? Imagine being a million miles away. With Tremfya, clearer skin is possible. And for adults with active psoriatic arthritis, Tremfya goes beyond the skin. Less joint pain, stiffness, and swelling is possible. And Tremfya even reduced fatigue. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Imagine being a million miles away. Ask your doctor about Tremfya.
When my mother heard about Pure Talk's latest offer, she said, "Michael, that's a third of what I'm paying my current provider. How's that even possible?" I said, "Ma, your current provider spent $12 billion last year on advertising and promotion. Pure Talk hired me to make a few commercials on my iPhone. That's why you can get unlimited talk and text with plenty of data on a crazy fast 5G network for just $25 a month. You're welcome. Pure Talk, everything you need, nothing you don't."
What's gold is new again, pardon the pun. But considering gold has been used as currency since around 550 BC, it has been on fire the past year. I'm here with Daniel Boston, the founder of Preserve Gold. Why is gold so stable and such a good investment for many people?
Take the central bank, for example, the Federal Reserve. They print money out of thin air, and then they take that printed money to go buy hard assets like gold to protect themselves against the very risks that they're creating. So I always tell people, don't do what the big players are telling you to do. Do what they're doing themselves.
Yeah, watch what they're doing.
That's correct.
Okay. If people are interested in investing with Preserve Gold, how do they get started?
Text Newsmax to 50505 to get your free information and up to $15,000 in free gold and silver with a qualified purchase. That's right. Text Newsmax to 50505.
All right. No way you can miss it.
So, here is a before of my stomach before Sono Bello, and this is after.
This year, don't just lose weight, lose stubborn fat and sagging extra skin permanently at Sono Bello.
I had some loose, wiggly skin, and it is no longer there thanks to Sono Bello.
Our expert surgeons use micro laser technology to safely target and remove your diet-resistant fat and tighten loose skin permanently.
I wanted the results of the tummy tuck, but not the downtime. I had a 10 out of 10 experience.
We've helped over 300,000 people transform, and we're proud to be America's #1 cosmetic surgery specialist.
In just one visit, Sono Bello got rid of my love handles and my belly fat.
Do you want that flat stomach? You go get that flat stomach.
Call Sono Bello.
Get in there for your free consultation. Do this for you.
Schedule your free, no-obligation consultation. Our flexible payment options make it easy to get started today.
When you make the bus free, it's free.
fast and free.
You have to be making it free while actually making the infrastructure for it to be fast.
When people say buses can never be free, don't ask them to take a hike. We take very seriously that this is a promise we have made, and it's our job to uphold it.
Okay. Well, free buses were all the rage as Mamdani juiced up the radical left in New York to slide into power. Just 3 months into his term, he's now admitting to Politico, free buses, not going to happen this year. And you know what? They're not going to happen at all. That's the truth. Watch and see. And then there's Mamdani's campaign promise to freeze the rent as well. The New York Times writes the reality of getting it done may be far more complicated than Mamdani thinks. Well, why is that? Well, that's pretty simple, too, because freezing the rent leads to fewer available homes. Less people are going to rent. They're not going to rent it out. Absolutely no new construction. Who's going to build for that? And sends the rent on non-regulated dwellings skyrocketing even faster in a city that's already gotten very unaffordable. This is the problem with electing a communist moron with rich parents who has never had a job. He doesn't have to live in the real world. He never has. Now all of a sudden he's running the real world. Mamdani's approval is frankly terrible. Only 48%, still in the honeymoon phase. It was around 61 for Eric Adams at this point in his term. This week, our Ugandan mayor announcing a racial equity plan. Another beauty, directing city resources to non-white New Yorkers.
The affordability crisis touches every corner of our city. So often, it is black and brown New Yorkers who are hit the hardest. This preliminary racial equity plan is the first step in developing a whole of government approach to tackling that reality. The inequities in this city, the racial inequities, are stark. The median white household in this city is more than $200,000, while that of a black household is less than $20,000. Our commitment now is to act upon these findings. We have a city where we are reckoning with the long history of racism here and starting to act upon a framework that puts equity right at the center of it.
Mm-hmm. All right, Vickie Paladino is a Republican New York City Councilwoman. She joins us now. Scott Lobaido, New York City-based artist and activist here in the studio. Good to have you both. Scott, let's start right there. Claiming decades of discrimination has forced him to prioritize people of color. We've got Harmeet Dillon over in the DOJ says, this sounds pretty fishy. The DOJ is going to review it. Your thoughts?
Listen, here we go again. I don't know how we keep continuing this insanity. It's the race card again. It's the division. You know, a lot of people criticize me and they say, Scott, you know, you're white. You can't talk about anything that goes on in the black community. You have no right to. Let me stop right there. I have two rights that allow me to say whatever the hell I want. Number one is the Constitution, Amendment 1. Number two, I'm not white. I'm Italian. Actually, I'm Sicilian. And if anybody knows history and culture, Sicilians, we are mutts. We are everything. I have black in me. I have Arab in me. I have Jew in me, Nordic, you name it. So I have a right to talk about any issue because I'm not only a Sicilian, an American, but also a New Yorker. And I find it disgusting that the black community continues to fall for the BS from the white liberal. Malcolm X said it in '68. He said it in his speech about the white liberal. The white liberal is the black man's enemy. And here we go again. This between this guy, Mamdani, Hochul, Newsom, who called black people. Remember he said it? Yeah. He said, I'm dumb like you black folks. Yeah. This is, and they keep falling for it. The white liberal wants to oppress the black community, wants to give them just enough peanuts to be happy and stay there. They don't want to not, if I'm going to be called a racist, I'll wear that title with honor. If I'm going to be called a racist, because I think that everybody should work and get progress in their lives and careers through hard work, creativity, individualism, instead of the color of your damn skin.
And Vickie, you know, the funniest thing about the comments from Mamdani about the disparity is that disparity exists so largely because of policies like the policies that he spews. What Democrats have done to the black community over the last 60, 70 years in this country is largely why that disparity exists in the first place. He wants to double and triple down on it to try and save them.
It's slavery. That's what it is. It's keeping these people enslaved, the black community, the minority community. Look, let's keep this in the proper perspective. One of which, everything that comes out of this guy's mouth is an absolute lie. Okay? He has proven himself in the first 100 days in office. White people earn on the average of $200,000 a year. Where is he getting this number from? The average black or minority community earns about $20,000. 200,000. Where is he getting all of this from?
Yeah,
he's creating this committee or whatever it is on, guess whose dollar? The state's dollar. Hochul gave us close to $2 billion. How is he forming this? He's forming this with ill-gotten gains. Once again, this mayor is pushing across. Look, we've had bad mayors. We all know that. This goes beyond. Open your eyes, people. This is an ideology, a Marxist ideology, that this guy is putting into New York City. And we have to understand we are in serious, serious trouble here because he's pitting black against white. Division once again. This does not work. We could be in very serious trouble down the road. He's got another 3 years and 5 months to go, 4 months to go. This goes way beyond.
Right.
The ditch he's digging is a grave, and it may be the grave of the whole middle class of the city of New York. He is so out of touch. His people that surround him are just so out of touch. They are Marxists. This is what he wanted. This is
and he's
what
overtly, Vickie, he's overtly lying. The 200,000 versus the 20,000, he's pulling two different numbers there to get there. That's a complete fabrication. He's using one number for whites, using a different number for blacks, and making it look like it's like this when it's nowhere near that much of a disparity. Scott, I want to show, because you've got some new artwork, and you are a fantastic painter. You've decided to paint Mamdani, and this is the big reveal here. Can you describe to us what you have on the canvas here?
You know, I'm an artist, and that's what I see. That's what people see. So I do portraits of society, and that's what it is. The devil wears a smile. That's exactly him in a nutshell. I just want to end with this. The silver lining to this conversation we had tonight is watching, and we're going to watch all of these white, spoiled liberals, sons and daughters of capitalism, who are going to be on cheese lines now. These are the folks that voted for him. They're going to be on cheese lines because they're going to lose their job to some guy who has no merit or concept of how that job works, only because of the color of his skin. So I'm going to enjoy watching that.
Vickie, your final thought.
My final thought is, hey, Scott, that was one hell of a picture you painted.
It's beautiful,
I love the atom bomb in the back, because the scariest part about all of this is it's all true. You want to take that smirk and just wipe it off of his face.
Right.
And, you know, I get into trouble for talking like this because I am, you know, I, too, stand on my First Amendment right. I, too, elected official, have every right to say what I'm saying right here, right now. And, you know, to my counsel and to anybody out there, most everybody agrees. You saw the 48%. I'd like to know who they polled. Polls are very targeted. They did not poll anybody who is like Scott or myself. They polled in certain targeted areas, and that's how he got his 48%.
I believe
Do
that
not
too.
be fooled. Nobody wants this guy in office. He's got to go.
Well said. I got to go too. Vickie and Scott, good to see you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it, guys. All right.
Thank you. Bye, Scott.
Will Gavin Newsom's wife destroy his White House dreams?
I've given our boys dolls, even if they tear the head off.
Think about what is actually on your computer this tax season. W-2s, 1099s, bank statements. Your PC isn't just a machine. It is a digital vault holding your life's work. But here is the scary truth. Standard antivirus software leaves the vault door cracked open. They let unknown programs enter first and then check if they are bad. By then, it's often too late. You need PCmatic. We use American-made default deny technology. It's simple. If we don't recognize a program, it doesn't run. We lock the door tight. And because your data needs to travel safely to the IRS, we have a massive offer. Buy PCmatic antivirus today and you'll get our premium PCmatic VPN absolutely free. Total security for your hard drive and total privacy for your connection. American-made security for homes, businesses, and government agencies. Lock down your financial life. Visit PCmatic.com to claim your offer today.
Protect your family. Buy LifeVac now.
Thank you, Daddy.
That was us over 10 years ago, filming LifeVac's first commercial in our living room.
Now LifeVac has saved 5,000 lives all over the world. All these people were saved by LifeVac.
Thousands of people choke to death every year, one child every 5 days.
These tragedies don't have to happen. LifeVac is the only FDA-authorized anti-choking device. Please consider protecting yourself, your family, your community. Go to lifevac.com today.
Thanks, Dad.
Hi, I'm Sally with SellMyPolicy.com, the fast concierge service here to help you sell your life insurance policy for cash now. Our experienced team makes it fast and easy for you to get your offer. Use the money however you want. Cover healthcare costs, pay off debt, or take the trip of a lifetime. Use the funds for supplemental retirement income, investments, or home improvements, or give money to loved ones now rather than later. John sold his policy for $590,000 in cash, which he used to pay for health care. And Cheryl sold her policy for $90,000 in cash and used it to supplement her retirement income. If you are over 65 with a life insurance policy of $100,000 of coverage up to $50 million of coverage, then you may qualify. With Sell My Policy, some people choose to sell all or just part of their policy so they can access cash now while also keeping coverage in place for their loved ones.
It's easy to find out what your policy could be worth today. Call 800-961-7355. That's 800-961-7355. Or visit sellmypolicy.com.
Why lapse or surrender your policy? Sell it and you can stop making premium payments. You may receive substantially more cash than what your insurance carrier will offer. Plus, you'll get paid fast. Arthur sold his policy for $84,000 in cash, which he used to help reduce his debt. SellMyPolicy.com has a large network of funders. That means more money in your pocket. If you or a loved one has a policy, call now. Trusted by seniors, there's no obligation to sell. Find out what your policy is worth today.
Talk with a policy expert now to see how much cash you could receive. Call 800-961-7355. That's 800-961-7355. Or visit sellmypolicy.com. Sellmypolicy.com.
Welcome back. Gavin Newsom is throwing around a lot of cash to help boost his damaged reputation and his image as he gears up for a 2028 run. He's sending $19 million in taxpayer dollars to a New York PR firm to try and convince Americans that he didn't destroy his state. The governor's Office of Business and Economic Development, this is how he's getting away with this, by the way, awarding the PR firm Edelman with a contract worth up to $19 million in taxpayer funds for the campaign. The firm will help promote the state's economy and tourism while pushing back on negative narratives amplified online and in partisan media. Yes, it's to help tourism. In reality, Gavin is stealing $19 million from his state and putting it towards his presidential campaign while he tries to fix his tarnished status. His wife has become yet another major liability for Gavin Newsom. A resurfaced moment from 2016 where Jennifer Seibel Newsom explains a visit to a federal prison in her state where she told inmates the story of how she accidentally killed her sister when she was just 6 years old. But listen to how she tells this story.
I lost my older sister a few days before my 7th birthday. I share that because they ultimately were accused of committing these violent crimes and sentenced for life. And I think it shocked them that this, blonde lady who was, interviewing them had a similar story, but wasn't punished the way they were because clearly it was an accident, but theirs was probably an accident too.
Theirs was probably an accident too. To some of the most dangerous people in our society. Yes, this is the psyche inside the Newsom family, and they want to run your country. Here's more from the first partner of California.
I've given our boys dolls, even if they tear the head off, to learn that care and caregiving is not just an activity that's reserved for women.
Boys that spend time online, I'm trying not to be political here, but are moving to the right, so that's scary.
It's no surprise to me that the first two prominent people pushed out of this administration were women. The conservative women that Trump handpicks, restricting our rights, limiting our autonomy, and pushing us back into this straitjacket of femininity. It's a war on all women.
The straitjacket of femininity. How many therapists does this woman have, I wonder? Ben Ferguson, host of The Ben Ferguson Show. Katie Zacharia also with us now. So, Katie, I didn't realize that everyone in San Quentin had had an accident and they're just there for the rest of their life, Katie.
Well, she needs to take a lesson on criminal law because there's this thing called mens rea, which establishes intent, and they've all been tried by their peers in a jury and been convicted by a judge, Rob. So they clearly had intent to kill whoever or commit whatever crime. And listen, she's doing us all a favor across the nation, Rob. She is exposing the utter insanity that is the Gavin Newsom household, right? Like, she is so hyper crazed. And look, their own son, Gavin Newsom admitted their own son loved Charlie Kirk. So all this doll playing and all these crazy things that she's doing has only led their own family to go to the right, including her parents, which are diehard conservatives and Trump voters.
Right. It is something. Ben, I can't fathom. I don't know how I don't know how anybody like this exists. Like, that's a real person.
Yeah, it's a real person, and it's also like the best thing that you could ever give us as a party. Like, I kind of want them to make it. I don't want to be too mean to her because it's so rich and it's just so good. I mean, just go back to the jail thing that she said earlier. The people that go to this maximum security jail, we're talking about child predators, child rapists, murderers, drug traffickers, sex traffickers, the worst of the worst. And she's like, hey, the majority of them there probably are as innocent as I am when I was 7 years old. You are different, by the way, than these people that did these things. And if this is what you think about jail, then you need to just be honest with the American people. Gavin Newsom is against cops. We know that. He's against ICE. We know that. He's for prison reform. He's for bail reform. He's for abolishing law enforcement if you've got a badge. So if you want to know what Gavin Newsom's going to do, this is it. And if you want to know how crazy they are, then just listen to what she says. She thinks Republicans are bad. She thinks conservatives are bad. She thinks people of faith are bad. I mean, she's been out there saying it for years.
Yeah, she certainly has. I want to get to one more with you guys before I let you go. We're staying in California. Swalwell, Democrat activist Cheyenne Hunt, claiming she's working with multiple women about to drop a bomb on Eric Swalwell, the congressman, as he runs for governor. Swalwell saying that, this is all nonsense, that it's outrageous. The false and outrageous humor is being spread 27 days before the election, saying it's a MAGA conspiracy. This is from a Democrat strategist, Katie.
There it is. Two things, Rob. Look, this is a Democrat strategist funding this case, okay? So this isn't from the MAGA base. And number two, it couldn't happen to a better person. Truth has nothing to fear of investigation. And Swalwell, if it's not true, then you're going to be scot-free. Otherwise, it makes me interested. Who are the Democrats going to put up as their governor if it's not Swalwell and they're funding his demise? Do we get Katie Porter?
Exactly. Ben, I got 5 seconds left. Could it have happened to a scummier guy?
Hey, let's be clear. This is a really nice guy that just happened to sleep with a Chinese spy named Fang Fang Bang Bang. Like, you should be able to trust him here, okay? Like, trust this guy. He's never done anything wrong, and this is not the Democratic Party realizing that they have a massive problem with him. So I think he's there to stay. I think this is all just smoke and no fire.
Okay. Ben Ferguson, Katie Zacharia.
Ask his Chinese spy girlfriend. She'll tell you.
No, I love it. I love a little sarcasm. Good to see you guys. Thanks so much.
See ya.
MSNBC's Robot Butler, easily offended.
That could have been a woman they were trying to rescue, and it might be a woman the next time.
Don't kibble your dog.
Oh, hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
But what's wrong with this? It's premium stuff.
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means it's ultra-processed at extremely high temperatures that destroy the nutrients in the food. But at Dr. Marty, we gently freeze-dried premium meats, fruit, and vegetables, locking in their nutrients.
Never kibbled.
You got it, kid, and they're gonna love it.
What if your GLP-1 for weight loss was as easy to take as a mint? Small, discreet, and easy. Think about that. No needles. This is compounded tirzepatide, a mint-flavored tablet designed to fit into your daily routine. You simply let it dissolve under your tongue. No mixing, filling, or storing your own syringes. Tirzepatide helps curb appetite and supports healthier eating by reducing cravings, including for sweets and carbs. And when your appetite feels under control, it can make it easier to eat less and move intentionally towards your weight loss goals. If weight loss has been on your mind, this may be the needle-free option you've been looking for, a simple daily tablet. as easy to take as a mint. Getting started is fast and surprisingly accessible. Just complete a quick online physician consultation. Here's how.
Save $50 with promo code SLIM at noneedles.com/slim. That's promo code SLIM at noneedles.com/slim.
Think you need a new roof? Think again. Most roofing companies only make money one way, by selling you a new roof. But what if your roof isn't worn out, just dried out? And with just a little love, you could put off an expensive roof replacement for up to 15 years, at a fraction of the cost of a new roof. Roofmax is a scientifically engineered restoration formula that brings your shingle life back to new. Scan the code and get a free spring roof tune-up with your Roofmax restoration.
Homeowners ask me all the time, do gutter guards really work?
Leaf Filter certainly does. In our testing, Leaf Filter handled double the rain of common hood-style guards.
It's Homes approved.
Call 877-77-HOMES or visit leaffilter.com/homes.
Kevin Sorbo here, and I have an important message to share. The government needs more money, your money. If you owe the IRS back taxes, they can garnish your wages and levy your bank accounts. They can even seize your retirement or take your home. Don't let the IRS target you. Call the professionals at Tax Network USA. Their tax lawyers and enrolled agents are experts in powerful programs that may even help you eliminate your tax debt.
Call for a free consultation or visit tnusa.com.
Slotomania, the #1 free slots game, presents the iconic Betty Boop, featuring amazing reels, exciting bonus games, and grand jackpots. Yes! Download Slotomania now, play Betty Boop slots, and get 25 free spins and 15 million free coins.
Welcome back. Time now for news from the left. The robot butler over at MSNBC getting very offended by Pete Hegseth using the phrase, "leave no man behind."
That brilliant rescue was described by the Secretary of Defense and by General Dan Kane as a long-standing American military rule of never leaving anyone behind.
We leave no man behind. We leave no one behind.
The general knows, unlike Pete Hegseth, that could have been a woman they were trying to rescue, and it might be a woman the next time.
You only get so much time in your show to complain about stuff, and this is what you're offended by, as we're on the on the precipice of nuclear war, according to him. Such a funny thing. All right, next up, Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey using donuts to try and explain energy to the people of her state suffering under the price of it.
So let's talk about energy in a way that everyone understands. With munchkins. Everyone wants a munchkin, or 2 or 3. But we've only got 25. That's where we're headed with energy. See this glazed munchkin? That's wind. Massachusetts already has an offshore wind project, lowering our energy bills. This sprinkled munchkin, that's solar. Solar is the cheapest, fastest way we can bring more energy into Massachusetts. We know that when everyone gets a munchkin, or 2 or 3, everyone's happy. And when there's enough energy to go around, prices go down.
She's with her little stupid donuts, she's lying through her teeth. She could make energy in her state cheap immediately, but she's been so heavily lobbied by green energy to only use their expensive nonsense and to put up windmills that destroy your coastline and solar everywhere, she refuses to do that. So everyone in her state has to pay higher prices for energy so she can stay in power. That's the real answer, as she sits there with her stupid donuts trying to explain. Nothing pisses me off more than the climate grift. And finally, another one on the same thing, the Wall Street Journal with a nice piece today drivers are celebrating the demise of another of these climate grifts, the most hated feature in cars, soon to be going away. That start-stop thing, if you got a newer car, you go to a stop sign or a stoplight, your car shuts off and then jolts you back and you go again. Yeah, one of the most annoying things about driving these days. I got one in my car. It's Obama regulation, of course. An Obama incentive created that. Trump repealing all of that in February. And a piece from today's Wall Street Journal about how much drivers appreciate that. Got to appreciate that. All right. A California Democrat demanding a new social contract for the rich.
You know Rob Finnerty. He's smart, bold, and stands strong for your values. Rob is fighting for you. Watch Finnerty weeknights only on Newsmax.
Doctors say having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care and pharmacy at home. Let me bring in Dr. McCullough to explain more.
Most people know when they're getting sick, but waiting to see a doctor is often too late.
So the key is having medicines before you need them.
Yes, and it includes doctor-prescribed medicines to treat common and serious issues like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, antibiotics, antivirals for flu, pneumonia, strep, ear and sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
So it is like having an urgent care at home.
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications and hospitalizations.
How do you know what to take?
Just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Great advice. I understand ordering is fast online, and we've put the website and $45 off code on the screen. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
Mike Hammond here, founder of Signal Relief. Meet Dr. Beth Dupree, breast cancer surgeon for over 35 years.
In my surgical career, I have treated thousands of patients, and finding effective pain relief has always been a priority. Believe me, I was skeptical, but Signal Relief caught my attention because it actually works. Clinical trials show over 85% of participants felt relief within 72 hours, with nearly half noticing a significant difference in just 15 minutes. Just place it near or above wherever you have the pain, whether it's your back, your shoulder, your neck, or your knee. Signal Relief Patch brings proven relief. I recommend it to my patients, family, and friends, and I get to witness and experience their pain relief firsthand, and that brings a smile to my face.
Join the hundreds of thousands who have experienced relief with the Signal Relief Patch, and it comes with a money-back guarantee. Trust Dr. Dupree and me. The patch works.
Stop. Check this out. Our most advanced performance frame, Talon, is out. It's a bestseller. We just got it back in stock, and I want to show you a little bit about it. This frame is an 8-base wrap, so it's going to sit close to your face, give you wide peripheral vision, stay on tight, but it also has a squared off lens for a versatile everyday look. And then you have comfort fit adjustable rubber nose pads for secure fit as well. These come with our signature lost and broken protection, and you can try them risk-free for 30 days. Check them out at shadyrays.com.
This little light of mine, in the dark found a hopeful sign.
For those with depression not getting enough relief from their antidepressant, adding Caplyta can help you let in the light, providing greater relief from depression symptoms than an antidepressant alone. And unlike some medications, Caplyta is also proven to deliver significant symptom relief from both bipolar 1 and 2 depression.
Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke. Caplyta is not approved for dementia-related psychosis. Call your doctor about new or sudden mood changes, behaviors, or suicidal thoughts right away. Antidepressants may increase these risks. Report fever, confusion, stiff muscles, which may be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High cholesterol and weight gain may occur, as can high blood sugar, which may be fatal. Common side effects are sleepiness, dizziness, nausea, dry mouth, feeling tired, and diarrhea. These aren't all the side effects.
Ask your doctor about Caplyta.
Help see more of the light inside of me.
And finally tonight, Democrat Ro Khanna on CNBC demanding a new social contract from the wealthy.
You are enabling our youth to think that socialism is a viable way to run an economy.
My district has $18 trillion of wealth. We originate almost a quarter of the wealth. I just was in the Washington Post calling for progressive capitalism. We have 19 billionaires, Joe, 19 billionaires who have 12.5% of the GDP. I'm going to say, okay, you're not going to be worth 20 billion, you're going to be worth 19 billion. And for that, we're going to get universal child care and health care. If America's been good for you, I'm asking you to do good for America.
They just need a little more money, guys. They just need $1 billion from all the billionaires. D.C. now spends $7 trillion annually, up 40% in just a matter of a few years. That money devoured by fraud that they don't care about stopping at all. They just want more revenue. And the reason nobody can afford anything, Ro Khanna, is because of that. Because you cannot stop growing the government. You cannot stop spending money. Rob Finnerty up next. Rob?
They don't even know what they say. Yesterday, he was saying Trump's cabinet should invoke the 25th Amendment and get rid of Donald Trump before 8 p.m. last night. And today he's on, morning TV saying that he's running for president. They stand for nothing, Rob. Not like us. We stand for something. Being Robs.
I stand for something.
That's right.
I feel like I do.
Yeah, you do.
Good to see you.
I do.
Right.
Good to see you, Rob. Finnerty starts right now. Thanks, Rob.